back to the 4th Estate Militia Shadowpoint solo run. In this episode, we continue the solo run that I was fortunate enough to GM for my friend Ulminati. His character Kraken is a plucky decker with a corporate background. She just wants some more friends in the world and desperately hopes that the Reality Hackers Matrix gang will be among them. Previously, she successfully navigated the diner where she proved that she had the stomach for this kind of work. Now she travels along another pathway made of pure data, heading toward an unknown fate. Will there be another challenge before her, and if so, will it answer any of the 1,000 questions she is potentially dying to ask? It's time to begin Kraken and the Reality Hackers, Part 2. You find yourself sliding along the electronic connections offered by the Delamar Matrix. But unlike the diner with its exquisite sculpt and terrifying waitress, you are instead deposited at an official Weapons World virtual firing range. You can just hear the sound of muffled gunshots from the indoor range beyond the sales counter and its armored wall. There are weapons hanging on the wall from every manufacturer carried by Weapons World, and the man behind the sales counter, who is very clearly an agent of some sort, stands perfectly still and will not move until you make eye contact.
There are no signs here saying that you have to be in VR. Kraken is still desperately trying to find an excuse to get her meat somewhere safer ish, or well, somewhere less destructive if it starts flailing around without offending the people that are spending all this effort to get to her.
Well, you are just at a virtual firing range. This is a public Matrix site. Now, in order to utilize the range, you do have to be in VR. I'm
Mhm.
assuming it's like how the VR we have nowadays, you know how the headsets, if you look straight down, it pulls up the menu. I'm
Yep.
assuming it's something similar to that. So you look down and it lets you know in order to enter the actual range, you have to be in VR to experience it. But if you just wanted to shop around and look at the weapons, you could stay in AR for that. So if you wanted to back out and reposition your body, you could do that from this site.
Yeah, Kraken's gonna back out and reposition her meat while browsing the list of weapons because Kraken does not like being mean to actual people, but she does play a lot of games, so she actually does know how to use and fire a gun. She's gonna look for one of the machine pistols because the light weapons is the things that the healer and support classes usually get saddled with. So those are the ones she's most familiar with.
You see a list of several manufacturers. There's Ares there, there's Cavalier Arms, there's Onotori. It's just a regular Weapons World site.
She's gonna pick the Remington suppressor because many of her new and illegal friends seem to like those.
Have you returned to VR and spoken to the sales agent?
Once she has repositioned her meat, she's gonna hop back in VR and she's gonna approach the agent because she needs to make a purchase or rent a virtual gun.
Well, as you walk up, he will look at you and say, "Oh, good afternoon, Tanaka-san. Your scheduled appointment has been prepared according to your exacting standards. The firing range approved by your corporation and the requested catalog of weapons have been pre-loaded as instructed and, as always, we here at Weapons World hope you enjoy your visit, sir." And he will gesture with one
Kraken
hand towards
glances
the
down
door.
on her icon just to check that it's not turned Japanese.
Ooh, funny thing about that. So you can tell it's not your face or your hair or your virtual features. It's no avatar you've ever used before. And even if you look, this is the weird thing. People, especially in the sixth world, are vain. They even have a mirror by the door leading into the range because you have to pick up your ear protection, just some sound dampeners, the earmuff style, and of course some ballistic firing glasses. It's just a requirement. And as you put them on, you can look into a mirror beside the door right before you enter, and you are quite possibly the ugliest elf you have ever seen. And you're Japanese. And you're male. And apparently you're named Tanaka. But
Huh.
regardless, you see your ear protection and your eye protection. And it is very clear you have to put those on before you can enter.
Well, we'll go with that. I mean, Kraken's. If you look at Kraken's sheet down in the inventory, her main character in Dragon Quest is a rock man. So she's not vain about her online personas. So this is fine.
It's just a little weird to log into a site and your avatar and your biometric readout is, oh, and your sin that you're broadcasting, your corporate sin.
This is very cool. I need to figure out how to do this because if I could do this in a host, like literally log in as another legitimate user, that then the patrol eyes wouldn't care about me. This is very interesting.
So do we enter the range?
Oh yeah, my curiosity is piqued now because if she can learn this trick, oh man.
So you grab the doorknob, you turn it, and the moment you enter the door, it's a little bit of a letdown. It's somewhat jarring. The host is clearly a corporate effort, and most of the processing power is being applied to the demographics research and the sales forecasting. It's the virtual experience really it's a letdown, especially after being in that diner that felt more real than even the real world at times. And now you're in a standard corporate VR host. The transition from the sales floor to the testing area, the range itself, it's sudden. It's not a gradual. There's no walking down a hallway. It's you can see the code, and once the second you turn that doorknob, you accepted your transfer to a new site. Even your eye, you can pick up. There's a slight decrease in the visual resolution. There's a little bit of a lag in applying the scent track. But as you look around, you just know deep in your soul that Tanaka-san has he has some heroic fantasies.
God.
The new realm loading before you appears to be a corporate office filled with drab cubicles being monitored by glass-walled executive offices. There's a central meeting room with a long wooden table and at least a dozen chairs around it. Wage slaves work mindlessly within their cubicles while cold-eyed managers push food into their mouths and watch, unblinking. The company's highest executives are within the central meeting room, sipping champagne and eating real steak dinners. An AR indicator appears on the floor and leads to a nearby cubicle, while an automated voice announces, "Your scheduled toilet period expired 40 seconds ago, Tanaka-san. Please return to your assigned cubicle and resume your work for the glory of the corporation."
Yeah, he has his own going postal simulator in here. That means that this is probably his actual office, and these are the actual people that slide him every day. Kraken looks around, tries to just nail down any kind of corporate logo and just cross-reference it with cargo she's moved before. Can she identify which corp this is besides the Japano corp?
Uh, it's just specific to Maersk, and the logos have been changed ever so slightly. You know it's a Japanicorp. It's not
Mhm.
Chinese. It's not really Southeast Asian. You're pretty positive it's Japan. Narrowing it down
Hmm.
beyond that is just a little bit out of the scope right now.
Fair enough, because like they move lots of cargo for other corporations, so she might have spotted something. Oh yeah, I remember this corp because we moved the X.
So, do you follow the AR indicator to your cubicle?
I know that if I follow the if I don't follow the AR indicator to my cubicle, it is much dishonor. But Kraken, he's not a psychiatrist, but she knows that someone that goes and loads up her job, loads up the job in a shooting sim, they're not looking to file paperwork. Right now, Kraken is not Kraken. Kraken is Tanaka-san, so she's gonna do what Tanaka-san would do. She's gonna check her weapons loadout because that guy that slided Tanaka-san is clearly the one that's worth the most points.
That's the weird thing. You're not carrying any weapons. You have a report in your hand, and your hands actually feel a little bit damp, like you just washed them in the toilet.
Okay, well, if this is not his own little going postal simulator, then we're going to act like Tanaka-san would, and Tanaka-san would go to his cubicle like a good little corporate
Ooh.
drone.
The cubicle is just as soulless as you'd imagine it to be. Battleship gray as far as you can see, with the carpeting on the floor being ever so slightly darker to obscure any dirt tracked in by a careless employee. As you reach for the data jack on the table, you hear the sounds of a commotion. Men are shouting for people to get down, and suddenly there's the staccato brap 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 of automatic weapon fire. A woman screams, "Ah!" before being silenced by another shot. This one much louder, and maybe even a little bit closer. An almost mechanical voice shouts, "Get him! He is in the central meeting room. Whomever fires the killing shot will receive a tax-free bonus of 50,000 nuyen applied to their illegal bank account."
Oh, oh, he is a very loyal corporate drone. He's actually fantasizing about saving his boss.
I told you he had some heroic fantasies. You felt it when you logged in.
Oh, oh wow. Okay.
Suddenly,
Uh,
several explosions, boom, 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 rip through the office. Wage slaves are thrown into the air, and chairs and even a random potted plant just goes flying into the air. Gunshots, fully automatic, seem to be everywhere. And
Quick, where is my katana?
You don't have one. You're a wage slave with a simple data jack.
Oh, God.
And suddenly, just then, you see Kowalski, the surly orc security guard. His fat belly is shaking as he's running towards your cubicle, and he's almost there when oh God, I'm going to be sick. He just got ripped in half by machine gun fire. Oh God, there's blood and it stinks, and you can see the urine spread on what's left of the bottom half of his body. But his torso, it lands at the opening to your workspace, and he slurs his final words. If only I was not an orc, I would not have been so lazy and let those Shadowrunners in here. You are our only chance, Tanaka-san. I remember the company newsletter that somebody else had to read to me. It said that you are an expert marksman with a... And just then, time... The whole scene seems to slow down until it's almost frozen. Looking at the shattered body of Kowalski, the security orc, your vision is suddenly pulled to several weapons strewn about his portly frame. There is everything from a holdout pistol, to a shotgun, to an assault rifle, to a crew-served heavy machine gun. Each weapon seems to highlight as you look at it, with an informational readout appearing after more than a couple seconds. Which do you choose?
Kraken tried to remember what was this. They were complaining about this on one of the boards the other day. One of the weapons was completely unbalanced.
Well, the weird thing is, like, you're looking, and it's more like it's a class of weapon that you're seeing. Like, you're not seeing the Walther PPK holdout, and you're not seeing an Ares Predator 5 as a heavy pistol. But you look at the tiny pistol, and you know that's a holdout. And you look up, and you see an HMG, and you look over here, and you see an assault rifle. But it's not, like, specific, like Ares Alpha or AK-98. It's more like the weapon class is what you're seeing.
Yeah. Okay, Kraken's going to go with the stealthy support class because that's what Tanaka-san, he believes he's a ninja. So she's going to go with the one that has the machine pistol and the short katana.
All right, so you see a machine pistol, and you look at it.
Oh God, the casual racism. Axel would love it in here.
So what you see before you when you stare at the machine pistol, it does the blink 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 to confirm selection.
This is a game, so you're not being mean when you're killing the AIs.
Of course
so Kraken is totally fine with this. Sorry, Tanaka-san is totally fine with this. So Tanaka-san is going to check his ammo to make sure the clip is full.
It shows as full, and poor Kowalski, the orc security guard who was ripped in half, it does this weird like rewind effect, and he goes back to saying, "If only I was not an orc." But at the end, where it says, when he's talking about the corporate newsletter, it said that you were an expert marksman with... That's where like suddenly it changes and you hear a sales pitch. The Cavalier Evanator machine pistol. The weapon capable of providing both burst fire and fully automatic rates of fire so that you, the expert, can decide which is necessary for your security situation. And all of the other weapons that were around his portly frame are suddenly gone. And he's reaching out with his machine pistol in his hand, holding it by the barrel pointed straight at his face because he's a dumb orc, and he's offering you the butt end of the machine pistol.
Tanaka-san is going to take the machine pistol, and he's going to make a very dramatic and not terribly tactical roll to the next cubicle and try to see where all the bad guys are. Because you got to save the boss. Got to save the boss, man.
Well, you can look over, and you can see that there are 3 bad guys. One is very clearly a troll. One is very clearly an orc. And one is very clearly a half-breed of the 2. And they're walking towards that central meeting room that has all of the executives. Now, you don't know how you know they're executives, but they're drinking champagne, and they're eating steaks, and just something in your brain is saying, these are the CEOs, plural, of Glorious Corporation.
Well, we're in the host as Tanaka-san, so we gotta be Tanaka-san. We're gonna go for great glory and great honor. And clearly, the half troll, half orc is doubly impure and needs to get sent back to Yomi Island in the body bag.
That is a beautiful way of looking at it.
Tanaka-san is gonna hose him down with virtual fire.
All right. So what we're gonna do, mechanics wise, is we are going to switch your physical attributes to your matrix attributes. So your agility will be equal to your logic, your reaction will be equal to your intuition, and you will be using your machine pistol plus, in this case, logic to fire the weapon. So your machine pistol skill, plus logic will be your dice pool to shoot. We are not going to
We'll
do traditional initiative simply because I know what you would roll for Matrix Initiative and I know what these guys would roll, so we're going to timey-wimey it a little bit.
she's gonna take cover because she's not stupid, and it is a 3 versus 1 situation, so you need to be in cover and pop in and pop out, just like back in the early 2010s when all the cover shooters had the. You know you were entering a combat zone when the whole room was full of chest high walls.
And just because I'm not a jerk, I will not allow edge to be used for this because you will need that later.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna need it later. This is just Tanaka-san trying to do his shooty fantasy.
So you said you're going to hose down the half and half?
Yeah, the half and half.
Because clearly, orcs and trolls can interbreed and come out with half-breed.
This is well known. This is why Yomi Island is such a hellhole.
All right, so you level that machine pistol because he doesn't know you're there because he's a dumb half-breed. You just stitch him from the small of his back up to the back of his head, just right along his spine. And it's amazing the amount of gore that just explodes out of this thing. And as you do that, the other two, with a literal sound of "huh," they will turn around and they will look at you with big eyes, like, "Where did you come from?" And you will get one more action before they act.
Well, seeing as the clear leader because he was double evil is dead. Right now, Kraken is trying to remember which of the two races the Japanese are most racist against. Common sense would be go for the troll because that's the biggest target and that's the one that's easiest to hit.
All right, you go ahead and roll me some shooties.
Yeah, this
And
is
let
fine.
me roll some dodgies. You hit him, and it just peppers all over his chest, and he looks down at his chest, and he looks up at you. Just like, what happened? And now it's going to be your turn to get shot at.
This is why Tanaka-san took cover.
So go ahead and roll me your logic plus intuition. No, excuse me, your intuition times 2.
Do I get the +2 bonus for being in cover?
Sure thing.
Tanaka-san is badass.
Tanaka-san is amazing because the longer you guys are doing this, it's odd how he's suddenly a lot slimmer than he was when he first hit the Weapons of World site, and he literally just steps aside and narrows his eyes, and you are up again.
We're going for focus firing down the enemies one at a time, reduce the amount of incoming fire. And Kraken is not inclined to do violence in the meat space, and that is kind of biting in the ass right now. She's used to playing healer classes.
So this time you shoot, and the troll, you definitely get through. And I say that because you look at him, and it. So this is the weird thing: the machine pistol feels real in your hand, like the weight of it, the texture on the grip, the recoil on it, it all feels real. Nothing else about this simulation feels real. Like that's just the only way to put it. This is a fantasy simulation. You know what a machine pistol can do to a person. Specifically, what would a machine pistol do to a troll that's decked out in Shadowrunner gear? And yet somehow it just rips his belly open and probably 300 yards of intestines and guts spill out. And he looks down and goes, "Why there's spaghetti?" And he will fall face forward. And then it's down to just you and the orc. And the orc will look at his pistol and he'll throw it down and he'll say, "I stole this sword from a real Japanese man."
Oh god, we have to do the honorable katana combat.
And he will draw the sword and he will stand there. And he's holding it all wrong. He's holding it like a baseball bat, which is odd. The more you look at him, the more he sounds really American. And he's literally like swinging it over his shoulder. And he goes, "I've watched movies about ninjas. I will hit your bullet out of the air."
I have to ask, does he speak in an LA accent? How deep does the racism go?
Not quite that deep. You can't be too heavy-fisted with it. It has to be subtle, you know?
Subtle, right. Right.
So yeah, he just challenged you. He just said he could smack your bullets out of the air because he stole this sword from a real Japanese man.
Yeah, but like if the bosses are to promote Tanaka-san, we have to go for the glory kill at the end because you have to kill the last enemy in a special way. And this is why Tanaka-san, even though Kraken has no idea how to use a sword, got the katana dual wielding.
So funny thing, you go to set the machine pistol down and you grab the handle of the sword and you draw it out, and when you look down, you're holding the machine pistol again.
All right, because this is a sales pitch.
This is a sales pitch.
Fair enough. Well, we're not gonna hack the sculpt because Tanaka said wouldn't do that. Tanaka-san is very consistent with
He
these
is.
bullets.
He is. So you level it and you shoot at him, and this orc, he's got it baseball bat style, and he swings, and you hit him somehow with that 3-round burst. Even though you had to set a single shot, it's throwing out 3-round bursts. One hits him in the genitals, destroys his baby maker. The second one hits him where his heart would be if it wasn't so shriveled and black. And the last one hits him square in the forehead. And yet somehow he still manages, as he's falling with the sword, to stab himself in the throat with it. And he falls over, dead on the floor.
It's like those hilariously stupid, gory sniper games that they're selling these days, where with the X-ray close-ups of the bullets.
You stand above the bodies of the fallen Shadowrunners and, looking up, you see the high-ranking executives clapping their approval. Suddenly, men wearing traditional samurai armor, colored red, rush into the office. They look at the dead Shadowrunners before turning to you and, as one, they bow deeply.
Gotta return the bow.
Tanaka-san, if not for you, our glorious leaders would have been slain. It is good that you are an expert marksman with the Cavalier Evanator machine pistol. This weapon is capable of providing both burst fire and fully automatic rates of fire so that you, the expert, can decide which is necessary for your security situation. The executives are rushed from the scene of carnage, and you find yourself left with 4 of the men in the samurai armor. As one, they remove their helmets, causing their avatars to drastically change. And at that, I need to take a 1-minute break to refill my glass of water, because doing the silly voices kills me. If you are ready to continue.
Yeah, this is really dawning on her right now. So we have the person that turned her soy fries green. We have the guy that stabbed the thing. We have Twiggy in her back. And we have the Rubik's Cube. Well, seeing as we're obviously using our made up names now, Kraken's going to see if she can drop Tanaka-san's icon and resume her normal Matrix avatar.
At this point, you can.
I don't know if you have seen it. It should be in a folder. It's a very high class version of the basic Tron suit. Kind of looks like Kraken in real life, except a lot prettier than she actually is, because like identified people are vain on the Matrix. Where she lost an arm in real life, the arm of the icon is a glowy blue hand. And of course, the exact color of blue is the same color that Maersk uses for the ships and shipping containers. And I actually have the hex code noted down on her sheet for it.
I remember seeing that. That is amazing. Okay.
Because that's the color she's been conditioned to like since she was a little kid.
So, where last we met, there were 4 of the men in samurai armor that happened to be colored red. You could almost call them red samurai. As one, they all removed their helmets, and their avatars suddenly changed. The first is a pig man standing within a giant stew pot. He is lazily ladling boiling liquid over his shoulders and back with one hand, while holding a magazine-fed shotgun out of the pot with the other. The second is a colored pencil drawing of a cute girl wearing a leprechaun costume, with an oversized revolver belted to her hip. The third is the literal stick figure. He appears to be a figure made of sticks tied together with ridiculous googly eyes and a small automatic pistol dangling from a stick arm by a string. The last is a man, wearing a suit, but instead of a head he has a giant Rubik's Cube atop his shoulders, with a long-barreled rifle leaning against his side. The man with the Rubik's Cube for a head slowly claps his hands. Bravo! You beat a simulation. You must be so proud. And the 4 laugh in exactly the same manner their appearance would dictate. The pig man with a snort of a pig, and the green leprechaun girl with an odd Irish lilt to her voice that sounds about as made up as it could be. The stick man just kind of rattles his sticks. And you'll notice that the man with the Rubik's Cube for a head, the sides, each of the pieces, if you will, is slowly rotating to a new pattern.
Well, you know how it is, friend. You gotta play along. By the way, Mister, she looks quizzically at the pig man.
Oh, please allow me to make introductions. This swine fellow is Hamsterer, master of the street side advertisement.
Kraken's icon waves at him. I'm guessing that puts you a special seasoning in the tantrum code.
The man with the Rubik's Cube for a head will turn to the green girl. This young lady in green might have a grudge against soy fries, but she certainly won't mind if you call her Blarney Stoned. And she'll look at
God.
you, and you can actually see her pupils are just randomly getting bigger and smaller. But the great thing about her avatar, because where the pigman looked like an actual crossbreed between a pig and a man, hers appears to be from any angle to be a two-dimensional pencil drawing of a little leprechaun girl.
Nice.
This bundle of yard waste is a true artisan. We call him Twiggy, but don't expect to get much more than a rustle from him. And those giant googly eyes will turn towards you. And you know how in kids' cartoons, when you want to make something angry, you just give it downward turned eyebrows? Suddenly, two big black eyebrows will appear above the eyes and turn down as if it was angry at you.
Kraken waves with each of them in turn with a little icon, and as she waves, there's a faint trail of blue smoke behind the blue arm because you have to have the blue glowy stuff.
And I, dear Kraken, and he will actually bow very majestically, I suppose is the word. I am new Picasso. Forgive me if I'm stuck in my cubist phase.
Tons. I like you.
And suddenly the laughing is over. The four of them are staring very sternly at you. They all have each of those weapons on them. And new Picasso will continue. So people have been saying your name. But if you would like for me and we to do the same, all you must accomplish is one simple task. And he'll lean forward. Impress me. You see, to join our illustrious ranks, you need to prove yourself capable. So consider this the first step in doing so, unless, of course, you'd prefer to admit right now that you simply can't.
Does Kraken recognize any of these names from either her interactions with or rumors of the reality hackers?
Roll me. Do you have a knowledge skill on reality hackers?
Let me check. I really ought to, but I don't think I actually picked one up. I might have. I have gangs, and reality hackers is a Matrix gang.
Given your background, go ahead and roll gangs at a +4 because your background is very specifically tied to the reality hackers. So of the, not counting New Picasso, Hamsterer, which is, yes, a play on words for hamster. Hamster is, oh, geez, you're crap. If this is the guy you heard about, because you always thought his name was Hamster, but if it was actually Hamsterer, this is one of those guys who does, like, he is all about brute force hacks. He is an in your face, literally walk into the whatever it is, go up to face with the person and hack them while he's staring them in the eyes. Like, he is.
The guy who invented the crime brick, the actual brick with crime sprayed on it.
Exactly. Blarney Stoned is, she's basically a code monkey. She's really big on pranks. Like, she defines prank warrior. She is the kind of person that would dive ultraviolet hosts just in the hopes that she would get hit with psychedelic ice so that she could see what it was like. Twiggy, oddly enough, for somebody who has the silliest avatar of them all, Twiggy is a guy that really likes making things explode. Like, as in changing the way that an engine operates, change the actual operating system to overheat specific cylinders so that they will eventually just detonate and shoot out like a ballistic weapon. Like, that's his specialty. The thing is, nobody can ever recall having heard him speak. And finally, you're left with New Picasso. Now, this is the guy that anybody who associates with the reality hackers, they've heard of him. He is quite possibly schizophrenic, which you believe would be represented by the constant changing faces of the Rubik's Cube. But he is probably one of the smartest, if not the smartest, people in the UCAS.
From this point onward, I'm assuming that Kraken's favorite quality is an effect, so that she's at a negative, and they get +2 dice to all social rolls with her. Oh, Ralph, wow, friends, yeah. I mean, I still owe you a real solid because she waves the ghostly blue arm around. I mean, no hard feelings. I'm just glad I got out.
The moment you do that, Twiggy will actually reach up with his hand and break off his little twig arm. And then those black eyebrows suddenly go really high like he's surprised. And he just starts rattling himself as if he was screaming in pain.
Yeah. Fortunately, the thing kind of knocked me out, and I didn't wake up until you Someone had placed me with that Cyberdark, so I didn't really get to feel it. But yeah, I've been working real hard, and now I actually got one that fits me.
So is that a yes, you can do this? Or is that a I can't?
Oh, you toss me at it, I'll do the thing.
Good. And the faces of the Rubik's Cube will cycle very quickly and then slow down as he begins to speak again. We have been contacted by we will call him a representative of a certain company that would dearly like to effect a change on one of their potential competitors. Shelby Tennyson, a company man if there ever was one, has earned our employer's ire. His business, so cleverly named Strapped LLC, has a manufacturing location in Auburn. He has received a commission to create an exclusive line of products celebrating the victory of dear soon to be Mayor Linda Taylor. It would be such an embarrassment if, perhaps, that exclusive line were to be made incorrectly. Today is Tuesday. Thursday night is when the changes are to be effected, as production will begin Friday morning with deliveries taking place Sunday night for a grand reveal Monday morning. Be diligent, be quick, and most certainly be successful. It is amazing how quickly a possible friendship can turn into a murder, isn't it?
You don't need to do that, friends. I'll totally do the thing. Don't worry. I've been on tighter deadlines than this.
He will reach up to that Rubik's Cube head and he'll, like, when you're trying to reach something and you can barely touch it, so you kind of like walk your fingers on it, just trying to drag it toward you a little.
Mhm.
He's doing that with one of the top corners of his Rubik's Cube head. And then he'll finally get his finger over that edge, and that whole cube will come off. Just that one piece. And he will hold it out to you. Except as he's holding it, it stops being red and green and yellow, and instead it turns to gold and silver.
Oh, those, as far as I recall, these are the reality hacker scan colors.
That they are.
Oh, this is amazing. I'm low key software perceive it just to get a good feel for the code that I'm being handed. I'm guessing she looks at the while she takes it, she looks at the thing, then at her new friends. It's like I'm guessing this is a specific code you want me to upload, or do you want me to just get creative with it?
He will toss you a jaunty salute, and then all four of the reality hackers disappear, having logged out.
I'm gonna look at the gold and silver cube in my hands and
It-
admire the nice code.
The package, basically, as you're examining it, you open it. That's part of the process of examining the code to see what it is. There is a set of instructions. There's a list of names: Shelby Tennyson, Strapped LLC, the address of a factory in Auburn. And then there is a piece of red mushroom with a little piece of paper, like a little label tied to it. And it reads, "Eat me, Annalise."
Well, it'll at worst be the third most disgusting thing she's eaten today, so she's gonna pop the shroom.
And when you do it, you suddenly rocket to huge size. You start growing like Alice in Wonderland. Your head hits the ceiling and your back hits the ceiling.
Ow!
And as it feels like the entire, you're in a matrix site, but it feels real. It hurts. The moment you think your bones are about to snap, you're laying in your living room. You're back home.
Oh boy, I get to do a salad for my good friends. This is perfect.
And with that, we conclude the second part of the solo run, Kraken and the Reality Hackers. Thanks for listening.